seems like a simple to answer question, but for someone like me, born in the United States of America, under Korean parents and grew up in Singapore, the question turns into more of a riddle. My name is Justin Park, and today I will talk about what defines nationality. Is it blood, a passport, a place drawn on a map? Or is it something deeper, a shared experience, a common culture, an understanding of who you are and where you come from? I've never been able to define where are you from. When I'm asked about my ethnicity, it's Korea. At the airport, I show the immigration officer my blue American passport, and around childhood friends and family, we all become Singaporean, recounting the times roaming around Tonglen Mall or the Botanic Gardens. For every introduction, I hesitate a little though, wondering what my answer would be today. My answer becomes a lot more complicated when I dive deeper into what culture I identify with. Apart from the three I already mentioned, I hold a deep connection to North Korea, where my grandmother and her sisters fled from during the chaos of the Korean World War. I've grown under Filipino hands who taught me mana po, a gesture of respect to the elders. And I speak Chinese fluently thanks to a close family friend who has been with me before I could even walk or talk. It is this family friend, I'll call her Ai, Mandarin for aunt, who I want to highlight today. She is from the province of Jirin, a region just north of the Korean peninsula. Jirin, while part of China, has its own independent government due to the prevalent ethnic Korean population there. Now, Ai used to be a government worker, organizing cultural events, Korean schooling, even food festivals to preserve the Korean culture of their parents and grandparents, which is also the culture that makes him so unique compared to the rest of China. The Jirin province isn't the only region with ethnic Koreans, or Tongpo as we call them. During the Japanese colonization of the then Joseon dynasty, many Koreans fled to nearby countries like China, Russia, Japan, even as far as Ukraine and the Americas. In post-World War II, the Korean War caused a second boost in the overseas Korean population, which currently has over 7 million Tongpo living all around the globe. Ethnic Koreans have moved, migrated, and built new lives across the world. They have sprouted deep communities in the respective nations they live in today. And it has been over a century since the fall of the Joseon dynasty and the start of the Japanese occupation, but many of these communities still consider themselves to be of Joseon and remain culturally tied to Korea. They speak Korean, celebrate Korean holidays, and uphold our Korean customs. You have examples like the aforementioned independent government of Jirin, the Joseon, translated literally to the Chosen Schools of Japan, offers a complete education from preschool to university, all in Korean for Koreans in Japan. And yet, many Tongpo are not recognized as citizens, not recognized at all by the country they deeply identify with. Because the majority of the Tongpo fled the peninsula before the establishment and stabilization of the South Korean government in 1948 and 1953 respectively, the ancestors of the current generation of Tongpo never held a Korean citizenship. In fact, many don't hold any citizenship, either because the countries they live in require a citizenship in the first place to apply for immigration, or out of determination to be recognized as a Korean rather than where they live. 2 million Joseonjong, the ethnic Koreans in Japan, refuse to hold a passport from either Japan or South Korea for this very reason. The Tongpo view their current place of living as temporarily until they can return to a unified Korea, just as they left them. But temporarily, that's lasting across 3 generations now. This lack of recognition is more than a bureaucratic inconvenience. It's an emotional wound, a feeling of rejection from a homeland that these communities have always considered their own and even fought for and supported during the Koreans' independence movements. But the Korean government today defines nationality in terms of legal documents, a definition that feels incomplete when you meet someone like my Ai who embodies Korean culture but doesn't have the paperwork to prove it. This results in the slow but sure degradation of the Tongpo community today. Less and less Tongpo in China are learning Korean, focusing on Mandarin to get a job in the mainland. The Joseon are being denied of their land grants, neither Korean or Japanese government backing their existence. And this is why the Korean International Network, and other organizations dedicated to representing overseas ethnic Koreans and aiding their independent communities were founded to be at the forefront of advocating their rights for the Dongpo. These organizations aim to represent the unrepresented, moving to establish legislation to grant the Dongpo community Korean passports. But in the 25 years the KIN has been established, only Russian and Ukrainian communities were recognized, the latter now in dispute after the start of the Russian-Ukrainian war. The South Korean population too has turned their back on the Dongpo community. We depict ethnic Koreans as illegal immigrants and criminals in our movies, such as 범죄도시 and 청년경찰, both extremely popular movies in South Korea. We discriminate them in the workplace, sending them to delivery shops, barely paying them minimum wage. And we refuse to recognize them as one of our own, despite our shared blood, history, and culture. With no one in the mainland standing up for them, identifying with them, political representation has been few to none in the past 7 decades. Now, I want us all to challenge the idea of nationality today. Nationality isn't just about a legal status. It's about belonging, culture, and identity. The Korean government and governments all around the world need to consider to expand their definitions. They need to see the people who live, breathe, and embody their culture. What defines nationality? I'll bring us back to this question. There is no correct answer for this, but when we come across a situation where we need to, we should stop and check who are we ignoring in doing so. I hope by sharing this story, my IE story, I can encourage us all to think a little bit more deeply on what it means to belong. Thank you.